All right, there we go. Hello. It would help if I put the volume on. Okay, are we live? Give it a hot second for YouTube to get going. For everybody to jump on Zoom. Where are we at? Where are we at? All right. There we go. Okay. We're good, we're good, we're good. Sorry, 2.5 seconds. If you're watching this, just pause, jam out, do something, do something. We've got technology is back on the ball now. Thank you. Thank you. Not always a fan when it actually taps out. So, okay. Happy Father's Day to anybody who celebrated yesterday, their amazing fathers, called them, all that fun stuff. Mine came in to visit last minute, which was super fun. We went to an amazing 3-day event. We went to learning so many things. I was like, Dad, you're coming. Always down for a good time. Always down for adventures with Dad. Okay, cool. What's up, everybody? Okay, we're good now. Today, what I wanted to do is content creation Q&A. So those of you, all of my amazing badasses that were on the Profitable Personal Brand Content Creation 7-Day Challenge, lots of questions coming in. Thank you. I love them. I love reading your questions. And I thought as I'm getting back to each one of you one-on-one, it'd also be really great to address to everyone because everybody probably has similar questions. So if you want to type in your questions, if you're on Zoom with us, or if you're either in my message, DM, whatever, what's up, everybody, then feel free to type them in if you have new questions as we're doing this. However, I'm going to read off the questions that came in that I thought were the most important. Because I think if one person is asking, everybody's asking. And sometimes you didn't even know that you had this question and hearing it from somebody else helps. So this is the content creation challenge Q&A, specifically for those of you that were in the challenge. But this is going to apply to anybody who's making content online, because if you run your own business or you're trying to just get to that next level, then some of these questions might come up for you or have come up with for you as well. So kicking it off, the first, hang on. Always first things first. Always first things first is copy. All right, let's go. So the number one question that I was getting from everybody is, do I use, well, one person specifically, I'm not going to put anybody's name on blast because this applies to everybody. So do I use hashtags on my reels? So this is specific to if you are making content for reels or TikTok or on YouTube, even shorts, that can apply definitely. Still, yes, there was some debate over the last couple years of hashtags not really working, or a lot of the times hashtags getting banned. Some people didn't know that. I was still using even some hashtags and it kept banning certain aspects of my account this whole last couple years. Lots of different hashtags got wiped out. So that became an increasingly more challenging thing. So here's what I'm going to say. This is what I do. This is what I tell all my clients to do. I'm going to say, yes, still use hashtags. This goes for any content. So even if you're not doing reels, right? If you're doing it on, if you got your tags on your podcast, on your blog, on your, if it's a more public newsletter, something like that, I'm thinking like LinkedIn. I do the LinkedIn newsletter. Hashtags are still golden. Here's what's happening. And this is a little bit of difference just the last couple of years, because the bots, we all know about the bots. Okay. I'm paying more attention to the bots than I am the algorithm, because the algorithm, I believe, this is just, okay, just something I've been seeing, something that right, I've been feeling into and tracking and watching. So write this one down too. Getting more specific on the keywords that you're using, most specifically, if in your reel, whatever you're saying, using specific words on whatever you're saying in the reel, or if it's like a voiceover, whatever they would be saying, whoever's voice you copied, something like that, right? Or if you're writing content, whatever, some keywords that you were using for that, and use those as the hashtags. Okay. Some of you are like, we already knew that. That's been like a golden. Okay. But sometimes I would put in other ones that I'm used to using, as well as then these ones that the specific ones that are based or that are in the content that you're either speaking or writing about. Okay. So a combination of some continuous ones, like one or two that you use frequently, hashtag personal branding, hashtag relationship goals was a big one for a couple of years when I was making a lot of that, or hashtag higher consciousness. Another one is create your own hashtag. Okay. When I had a little bit of different branding, it was hashtag the conscious lifestylist. We have moved beyond that particular branding. Now it's lead like her, or hashtag, maybe it's the project or program that you continuously offer, hashtag profitable personal brand. So having something, one or two that are consistent for you. And then the other, like keeping them within like 6, no more than 7 now. The days are gone where everybody's using like the 30 or the 29, right? Because you can max out at 30. Bots are picking that up. The reason why I'm associating it with bots is because I believe that the bots are paying more attention. The algorithm and the bots are working together, and they're paying more attention to what is this person talking about? And so if you start using the same type of words, okay, if you've been doing a lot of the personal branding or building your online business with me, then like one of the things that we do is we go through like your glossary. So here's a little side note thing for you to write, a little caveat with this. Go through and write your personal glossary. These are isms that are you, or words that you continuously use. That will be like your glossary of words, because the bots, whether it is SEO, reels, blogs, anything like that, it's picking up the consistent words that you use. So the more that you're using those consistently, this works just on like, standard SEO, but we're not getting into this. It's too complicated for that today and for this one question. So this is going to work really well for, the more that, back it up. The more that you can stay consistent with the words that you're using and putting those into hashtags, the more the algorithm, or the bots that are working together with the algorithm, I don't really even talk about the algorithm that much anymore, are going to, it creates momentum around your brand. Okay, so all of that to say, should I use hashtags on Reel? The answer is yes, and use at least 5, no more than 7. Make half of them some continual or congruent hashtags that you use, and then 1 or 2 that are related to the content that you're posting or writing, for that piece of Reel, story, short that you're making. Okay, so that answers that question. All right, what's everybody jumping on? If you have questions, then you can put them in. Good morning, wherever you are. Where are you, Brandy? Does it say TX? Are you in Texas, love? I'm in Texas. Okay, so if you have questions, babe, if you just jumped on, then feel free to type them in. I'm going over the most common ones that came up from everybody within the 7-day content creation challenge for your profitable personal brand. This is everybody. If you are service or products offering, starting your business or growing your business to the next level, lots of things change. So I thought it was really appropriate to get back in the momentum of creating content. The next question was, what platform do I use? I still get this one a lot. I did answer this in the 7-day challenge. If you're unaware of the challenge, hit me up, give me your email in some way, shape, or form, and I'll get you into that free challenge. Or you can watch the replay of the free challenge, like binge watch all 7 days. Okay, so which platform do I use? This definitely came up in this. I'm going to say it depends on 2 things. 1, what feels good for you, and what is your strengths? So I always like to tell people, don't always follow, whenever I'm working with a client in the beginning, it's always like, what kind of content do you want to make? What feels really good for you? You don't always have to follow whatever is popular at that time or what everybody else is doing or what everybody else says to do. Because if it's not going to feel good for you one way or the other, hang on, let me let some people in. Please make sure that you are muted when you jump on. Thank you, love. Okay. What's up, Renee? Okay, so put in your, there we go. Put in your comments, babe, if you, or excuse me, questions, if you got them. Love seeing you on. Okay, so it's not always going to matter. Excuse me, it never matters. It never matters. The popularity of the platform, wherever you're making content, never matters. Completely disregard that. This goes back to we need to get less away from what is everybody else doing and more into what feels good for us, what feels good for you, what feels good for your brand, what feels good for how you want to be delivering content to people. That should be first and foremost. Get away from copying what everybody else is doing or modeling after what everybody else is doing. It's got to be what is most aligned for you. Okay. So I'm going to back that up with, is it also then like, what are your strengths? Is it writing? Maybe, like I always say, video is queen. The hands down, anybody's going to tell you that. If anybody's not saying that, then they don't know what they're talking about. Video is always queen. And doesn't always mean that that is your strength. So that doesn't always mean that you're not going to have success if you're not doing video. Doesn't mean that at all. So how is it that you want to offer value to your clients, to your customers? If it's not video, what are your strengths? Maybe you are a badass writer. I know people where I read their stuff and I'm just like, blown away, completely blown away. And there's some days where I get into a flow of writing stuff and people are like, oh my God, you're such a good writer. And I'm like, if I just like riffed that on a video, I don't know if it would come out the same way. Right? When I'm on video, it's a lot more organic. You get to play a lot more. It's not, it's not structured really, right? Like I use bullet points, absolutely, but I don't memorize exactly how I'm going to do something because then it doesn't feel like it's in flow, right? Writing can be very in flow, but then you can go in and you can make edits and you can make tweaks. So it's however you want to offer value that supports the strengths that you uniquely have for you. I am not always the best writer. Like I said, I read somebody else's stuff. I'm just like, damn, that's on point. I don't feel like I could ever do that, right? I need to hire that person. So hire out for something that is not your strength. Video, that's not going to work, obviously, right? But really check in with what feels good for me. Ask yourself that question. So in the answer of what platform do I use, you're going to ask yourself, the first question is, what feels good for me? How do I want to deliver value to my customers/clients? And what platform will then also highlight the strengths that I feel best at? The last thing that you want to go do is watching what everybody else is doing and then copying off of them and repeating something after they've done it. You don't know what works for them. You don't know whether that's succeeding or failing. I see, right? Like people copy some of my stuff all the time and it's just like, okay, whatever, but you don't know what works for me and what doesn't work for me. So what you're going to do, you don't know if you're watching somebody else, what works for them and what doesn't work for them. So it always has to come back to you and what feels the best and most congruent for you. Let me read that comment in a hot second. Okay, so what platform should you use? Tap in. What feels good and what's going to highlight your strengths. Okay. I always repeat it a couple times. That's just how my brain works. All right. Let me check out this question real quick. Good morning to you too. Where are you, love? You would like to ask about Reels. Okay, cool. Because I just answered a question on Reels, but let me see. And if you want to type in, please, what like your business is, or are you service-based, are you product-based? Like what is it that you're offering? That's going to help me kind of tailor a little bit more specifically to you as well. I would like to talk about Reels. Will it be an issue if the Reel is posted by my assistant from other continent? Thank you. I almost read that as content. like the IP address affects the views. Oh, that's such a good question. Okay, if the IP address affects the view, you know what's really interesting is I've personally had the same question come up for myself, because when I've had, and I've tested out a couple of things. I've had a VA write certain content, which then I always go over and approve, right? So that's always step one, never just paste anything somebody writes, always check it yourself. Two, I've also, because you don't always want to, would be great if Instagram, for instance, would give like a password access to somebody else on your team. I have always trusted that I would be posting it myself. So whatever gets created, I'm like, just hand it to me, I'll post it, because I never wanted to give somebody access to my actual platforms. That being said, I believe, and let me go check this because I need to freshen up on this. So this is really great, because I believe now inside of Facebook Business, I believe you can have someone come in as a VA. So again, I'm going to go make sure, because I don't want to answer specifically and then not say the right thing. But I believe that you can have someone like an assistant or a VA sign into your Facebook Business backend and be posting from there as them, in which case it would not affect the views and the IP address. However, when I had a VA, this was before Instagram and Facebook sort of linked all the back-end business stuff, and they were posting from another IP address, I did notice a decrease in views. So I don't have the full answer for that. I'm just to be fully transparent, but I noticed a decrease in views. And I didn't know why, right? That was the question that came up. I was like, is it because they're posting it through there? So that was something I was very much testing, and I haven't tested it since. Hence why I was like, if somebody's, co-creating content for me now, sometimes it's like they set it up and then I just do an overview of it. I'm still very particular about the content that I put out. So I will never have someone just create it for me and then just post it out. But I will always do my own posting because I want it to come from my own IP address. If it's already created, it should take you 2.5 seconds, right? Making links, all of that stuff. I get that always takes time. I'm somebody that I still like to have a little bit of my energy into something that I post, right? Like I want to have touched it. I never want to hand everything off to someone else to do that. It doesn't feel congruent for me. It's like, I want it to go through my energy, through my filter in some way, shape, or form, right? And I'm very, very busy. And so I will still make time to do that because I feel like that's just the integrity that I want to have for when I'm putting out content. I want it to pass through my filter so that I can be like, I am still posting this. This is still coming from me. This is still in alignment with me and my brand. That's important for me. So to answer your question, I believe that it does, but let me do a little bit of background check on that too, because I haven't looked that up since I had that problem. Because like I said, I noticed the views went down and I thought the exact same thing, but I don't want to give you wrong information. So I'm only giving you from my experience so far. But let me check a little bit deeper on that. So if you're on my Instagram, DM me, or if you're on my newsletter, then we can be emailing back and forth. Super, super great question. Really great question. It kind of fell along the principles of, before when we had all these, external platforms that you could plan your content on, and then it would post it to Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. And it decreased the engagement because it was like they recognized, oh, you're not on the platform. You're not on the platform. And so you're not really engaging, right? So it would kind of lower your engagement. That was a couple of years ago. That was the same principle of what I feel like you're asking with the VA and them posting it from another platform. Because the other thing that we need to understand too is the way that everything's working, especially in social media, is it will deliver you content that make sense for what you want to watch. And that goes based on the things that you've been searching on your phone, the things you've been looking up on your phone, the things that you like, the things you comment on. So if you think about it, each person's engagement and each person's information or content that's coming to them, the suggestions that's coming to them, is relative to their platform. Here's a great example. I was going through this, like just going through things on Instagram where I was really inspired by, right, when we weren't traveling, and I was saving all of these beautiful like montages of different landscapes. I'm like, oh, I want to be there. And I'm just like saving it. Right. And then I would find another one. It was a reel or a story or a video or something like that. And I would save a lot of those because it was inspiration. And then I noticed that then my engage, right, it kept sending me more information like that, because it's going to say whatever you save, whatever you comment or like on, it's going to send you information like, oh, she likes that stuff. Send her more information on that. And then it's going to recommend me and my channel to the things that I like and save. That's not so good for your brand. Unless you're a travel influencer, unless you're, unless you own a travel destination, planning, something like that. If that's your brand, that's great. So one little caveat is to know that each person's phone is getting and giving information, content that's relative to their own little bubble. That's why one person sees the news that relates to their what they've been following and engaging in, and somebody else could get totally different news pieces, completely different. So it's recognizing the user. I say all of that to say that when, it's like, oh, is the engagement going to change? Because if your assistant is posting the content and it's a different IP address, I would say that it would more relate to what are they liking and saving and commenting on? And then if they're posting your content that's not related, is that what's changing the engagement? That's how I think about it. Hopefully I've explained that in a way that makes sense. Give me some comments. Yes, thank you. Okay, cool. Because that's just like, we're getting into like the deeper layers of just how the back end workings of bots and algorithm and SEO and all of that stuff is working. And I don't want to confuse anybody with that. But just know that your phone, what you look for, what you like, what you save, what you comment on any platforms, any social media platforms, news, anything, it's all relative to you. Because the bots want to advertise to you. So it's like, cool, what is this person's engagement like? What are they into? Let's send them more information. Have you ever noticed that like you'll think of something? I've tested this. And now, like I've been talking about content creation and I get a bunch of ads or promos of other people doing content creation or whatever, because those are the words that I've been using and my phone listens to me. Your phone listens to you. The bots listen to you. So if you want to know how to manifest in 2022 and beyond, just start talking to your phone and using specific keywords of the things that you want to actually attract or get advertisements on. So just understand that that's why it's even more important for the content that you're creating that's relative to your brand to get even more specific, the words/keywords that you're using to get even more specific. And yes, or if you're posting it from your platform versus an assistant's platform, what are they looking at that's different than what you're looking at? What are they posting about that's different than what you're posting about? What info, right? Because they're now that you have to think about them as isolated and completely different. So hopefully that answered your question. Really, really great question. And hopefully I answered that in a way that makes sense. So, and put some comments, I'll read those in a second. Okay, so the next question that came through, and again, if you're just jumping on Zoom, this is the Q&A for the Profitable Personal Brand 7-Day Content Creation Challenge. There were so many questions that came through, so I just wanted to do like one awesome video of just answering all the questions as I'm getting back to each one of you individually. So I'm going to send everybody this as well. Okay. How do I package my knowledge into content? That was exactly what this whole challenge was for, what your personal brand is for, how to monetize your expertise, packaging it, polishing it into content that then offers your expertise in a really valuable way. So the specific question is, how do I package my knowledge? How do I get it together into making then content from it? Okay. So here's how I answer this. 1, take your methodology, back it up. First, identify what your methodology is if you don't already have one, okay? If you need support creating, like if you don't know what your unique methodology, how you do the things, the transformation that you're offering people, we need to have a separate conversation, okay? So if you don't already have that, let's have that conversation after. But to package your knowledge into your content, it's taking your unique system, strategies, methodology, whatever you've created that is your unique transformation for your ideal clients or customers. It could be a product too, right? That's your unique blend of whatever it is. Whatever your product or service is that is uniquely yours and your brand, right? You're going to use that method, system, strategy that you've branded as yours, whether you've trademarked it or not. Then you're going to break that down into the segments. Ideally, maybe it's 3 phases. Profitable personal brand has 3 phases: persona, presence, and then profit. So you're going to break it down to however many phases your methodology has. And then those segments or phases or pillars, or however you want to name them, those create or go from those pillars or really, Sarah? Go from those pillars or phases, and then each phase will have subtopics within them, right? Like if you were on the profitable personal brand masterclass, if you want information about that, hit me up, let me know. It's a free masterclass, 3 days. It goes through all 3 of those phases. There's what's included. We dive into, for the sake of time, we dive into like 3 really juicy pieces of it, but then there's 4 or 5 other subtopics. So when I'm making content, YouTube, my newsletter, whatever it is, I have a whole year planned out. No joke. Okay. I have a whole calendar that's planned out with the subtopics. Sometimes I get nerdy and I go by quarter. Sometimes I take the 3 phases, right? The last 3 quarters, if you've been on my newsletter, we're all about personal branding since January. We're going to switch it up in a little bit, but we've been all about the 3 pillars of the personal brand. And so when I go to make content, I've been highly creating a lot more content within the newsletter. So if you're on my newsletter, you've been getting those weekly tips and tricks. Those are, or strategies, whatever I share about what you need to do to master your personal brand, to monetize your expertise and bring it out into the world so that you can be actually establishing your business either as a 6-figure business or getting from 6 figures and above. I have all of that planned out from the signature system, the profitable personal brand system. It is my methodology that I've done for my own success and that I teach for my client success. That methodology then has those subcategories. When I go to make content, I'm like, great, which pillar are we in? Which subtopic are we talking about today? So that's how you, from your packaging, that's how you then package all of your content, package all of your expertise and then turn it into content that's uniquely yours. Because then you're not going and watching what everybody else is doing and be like, oh, they're talking about this, I should write something about that then. I do not suggest that. I don't teach that. I don't recommend that. Somebody else's content is somebody else's content. Don't copy what anybody else is doing. Even if you're modeling after the topics that they're doing, it's completely relative to the people who are following them, the algorithms, the bots of the people that are associating to them, and their own brand. So when you get super clear on your personal brand, when you get super clear on your methodology, if you don't already, and then creating the content from there, everything is uniquely yours. You couldn't possibly be copying what anybody else is doing. And that way it's you staying in your lane. You don't have to worry about what the competition, and there's no competition at that point. You're still aligned with your personal brand. Hopefully that like shifted maybe some perspectives. Also, hopefully that gave you a few ideas for how to set up your content. If you want to nerd out like me, create the whole year. It makes it so much easier, right? There's so many, I'm not the only one that talks about batch, right? Creating batch content. I do it by week, but I've planned out the year. That way I don't have to use all of my creative energy to be like, oh my God, and then what am I supposed to be talking about today? There is a little bit of research, which I think that came in one of the other questions. So I'll pause on the research element of that, but it is still important to know what your audience, what your clients, what your customers want to know about. That's the other reason why don't copy what anybody else is posting, because you don't know what research they've done for their clients and customers. You want to be delivering valuable content for the people that are following, subscribing, watching, the people that are in your circle. Even if those people are watching you and the other person, it has nothing to do with them. It's your personal brand, making sure that you are always uniquely posting content that is only yours. If it happens to relate to somebody else, that's cool, but it's not because you went to somebody and been like, oh, look at what they're doing, and let me go do the same thing. No, not even close. We don't do that here. And too many people do that. And if you've ever been copied of your content, you'll know, right? We don't do that here. That's the integrity and the value system that people that are in my circle, I will never teach you to do that. I will never teach you. I know there's some people that will be like, go to the influencers and like get clients from them and watch the content that they're making. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not you. You don't own it. It's not you. Okay. So it's always like, it takes, yes, your creative energy, right? It's so much easier. Let's just be real. So much easier to look at somebody else and be like, okay, they're doing that. Like, I'll do that too. So much easier. But then it dilutes the integrity and dilutes the energy of your brand. And so we want to keep your brands strong and your brand only in alignment with being unique to you. That's the difference. That's where you create or continue creating the momentum around your brand that will attract your ideal clients. If you're copying it from somebody else, even if you're modeling it from somebody else, it's energetically, it's not a match because you didn't own it. It didn't come from within you, right? So there's easy ways to plan out the year. Doesn't have to be complicated. But you plan out the year, and then energetically, you're always in alignment with your own brand. And then every single week, you're like, oh, you can just go through the grid and be like, cool, this is Monday. Awesome. This is this date. Oh, this is this topic. And it's based off of your methodology, your unique content and transformation that you're offering, the value that you have to give your clients / customers. Okay. So hopefully that resonated with you. I'll read that in a second. Okay. Let me make sure if that was everything on that. Yeah. So that's basically how you package your knowledge into content and making sure that your content is, again, uniquely your own. You didn't copy it from somebody else. You didn't even model it from somebody else. Like, it is only through you. It doesn't matter your horoscope, your astrological sign. It doesn't matter your human design. Like, it doesn't matter any of that. It matters off of the transformation that you deliver that only your methodology can deliver, and your unique way that you're creating that content or the topics and the way that you deliver those topics and then that content to your clients and your customers. That you've done also a little research to find out what it is that they want. So that research comes in, I think, a little bit in a minute. Okay, hang on. Let me tap in. All right. I love that you guys are loving this YouTube thing as well. Yes, that's very helpful. Okay. How about hashtags on Reels? Should we always put hashtags when posting Reels? So I'm going to ask you, because that was the first, this is so good. See, this is exactly my point. So I don't know if you were the one that asked that question in the list that I have, but that was the first question that I asked. So you'll be able to get this replay if you're on my newsletter. But I definitely answered. That was the very first one. And what I was saying is I love doing these Q&As and kind of, I collected all the questions that were coming in, and rather than just answering everybody individually, I decided to jump on here and answer everybody's, because whether that was you or if it wasn't, somebody else had that question. So it makes it really easy to make sure everybody's getting the same value, because if somebody else is going to have a question maybe you didn't think of. Okay, so the next question is, let's see, I'm posting content. Why is it not getting the engagement? Oh, wait, no, hang on, that's next. That's a juicy one, and I had so many bullet points. So we're gonna leave that one in a hot second. Okay, I don't have time to make content. What do I do? I get this one so much. You guys, I am crazy. My calendar gets booked out. Okay, not just with clients, but maybe it's calls, maybe it's out there networking, maybe I'm creating content. Like, there is so much in my calendar. I get very OCD when it comes to my calendar to make sure that I'm getting everything done. I live by my calendar. Highly recommend. Put it in, I even have a little nerdy section that is like, you know, what am I committed to, and getting back into like emotional alignment. That's on my calendar. Okay, I live by my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't get done. So everything is very structured. As an entrepreneur, you either know this because you've been in the game a minute, or you are learning this. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 13. I'd say there's two most important things. One is money management, okay, but that's not what we're talking about today. The other is time management that you absolutely have to have, because time is relative. Time is relative. And every single time I hear somebody say, I don't have the time for this, let's just try on for a second and hear my heart on this, because I know everybody's busy, right? Whether you have kids, or whether you're running multiple sides to your business, or whether you're running multiple businesses, everything is relative to somebody. Sometimes people's businesses are like their children. So there's nobody's in the space of, like, we all have the same amount of time. Let's say it that way. Okay. So I want you to try this on, because we make these statements that I feel like we've heard so much from others that it's the easy thing to, oh, I don't have enough time. Like, that's the easy thing to say. And yet time is relative based on a few things that I'm going to go through, right? Because it's not about time. We think that it's not about time, but that's a mindset perspective problem, right? Or I should say, it's not mindset, that's a perspective problem. It's not a time problem, because you've probably been, whether you're married, single, whatever. Okay, I always put it into relationship examples. Whether you're married or single, when you need to make time for whether it's a date or whether it's date night, you could be super busy. You could have 1,000 different things to do. Maybe it's date afternoon, maybe it's date lunch, or right, whatever that is, you make the time for it. And this is why we have to put it into a different context and realize that time is relative to what we want to create in that moment, what experience we're committed to creating in that moment. So I just want you to try that on for size, because I hear it often. I've been equally guilty of being like, oh my God, I don't have time for this. And I'm like, ooh, hold, please. Check that language. So it's so easy. Even I do it. I got to catch myself on it. So I'm just being fully transparent. I've equally been guilty of this. And then it's like, hang on a second. What is it that I really want to be committed to in this moment? Because I know time is relative and we're all given the same amount of time per se. So you think that it's time. And what I'm going to offer for you to try on is, could it be the lack of clarity on what to write, to post, to create, whatever piece of content that is. Could it be that it's the lack of clarity, that the prep work ahead of time hasn't been done yet? Maybe that year calendar isn't written out with those easy bullet points and then the content around your specific methodology, so that then you could go to that calendar and be like, okay, like here's the inspiration. I'm clear on what it is I'm going to create. And then it becomes effortless, meaning the time that it takes to create that content is effortless. The time that it creates to generate the idea on what to create, that is effortless. So it's not a time factor. Could it be a lack of clarity on what factor, what content, what to post, what subtopic within the umbrella that matches your brand, your product or service, excuse me. Okay. So just try that one on. And that may feel like that may be triggering for some people. Totally may be, because it's so easy to go back to, okay, but I don't because of this, 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 and this. And we can justify it in 1,000 different ways. I have a million things to do in a day. I can justify it all day long too. Everybody can. But try on. If you had such clarity around what to post specifically for your brand, for your product/service in your unique way, and you had just such clarity, would it be effortless to just be like, oh, okay, cool, and just let it flow from you? If you already had, the hardest thing that I find is that idea spark. Equally for me. And sometimes that's where like I sit with people and I'm like, let's brainstorm what your ideas need to be, so that on the day you're not sitting there like, hang on, what do I do? Like, I know what I do. Like if I'm in the moment with somebody, like I can rattle off 1,000 different things that I do. And it's almost like you want to be recording that so that then you can go back and relate to it, or right, grab that information. But on the day when you need to come up with that creative piece, you're like, hang on. Okay, I know what I'm doing. I know I'm an expert at what I'm doing, but like, how am I going to turn that into, it's almost like on the day when you need it, if you haven't done the prep work for setting it up, yes, that takes more time. That takes more creative energy to try to extract it out, because a lot of us are stimulated creatively by responding to something that's happening in your world that gives you the inspiration. Maybe it's something that happened in your business that then gives you the inspiration. Or you sat down and you planned it out, brainstorming, having somebody ask you those questions to then get the inspiration to be like, oh yeah, this, and this, and now you've got your whole year created. So I just offer that to say, what if it's not a time thing? What if it's a lack of clarity on what content? Okay, but that question came in, so I want to make sure that I answered that for everybody. All right. Yes, that helps. Okay, great. Love seeing that. All right, final question coming in. Oh my gosh, we're already at 45 minutes. I thought this would be like a quick little one, but these are great questions coming in. So like I said, I want to make sure everybody had access to this. The final one. This, you guys got a little tease of it like a half a second ago. I love this one, and I put some really clear bullet points on this. All right. So here's what's up. Here is when I get on the page. Cool. I'm posting content, Sarah. I'm already posting. Why is it not getting the engagement that I want? This could be on Instagram, TikTok. This could be, maybe it's your email list, right? The open rate isn't right. So wherever whatever's ideal for you, your ideal content, you're already posting content, it's not quite getting the engagement. Why is that, Sarah? There's a couple specific things. Okay. So I want you to write these down. One, one of my favorite things to do is to go through when I do brand kind of evaluations, right? Doing like a little like assessment, like let's look at, right? It's the first thing that we do in the Profitable Personal Brand Academy too. Let's look at everything you got. What does it look like? What's the visual impression that it gives first and foremost, because you've heard me say this already 1,000 times, hopefully if you haven't, here's the reminder. Whatever it is that you're posting, your brand, your content, your product, your service, you speaks. The visual speaks 0.05 seconds to the subconscious mind of any person who's viewing it, reading it, viewing it, watching it, whatever it is. 0.05 seconds speaks to their subconscious mind before they read, before they hit that unmute so they can listen, before they're maybe listening on the podcast, like before they consume the visual is always first. 0.05 seconds, like 0.05 seconds. It's not even a full second. Visually speaks to their subconscious. So the first thing that I want you to take a look at across the board is what you're posting. Does it look average? Is it not polished? Does it make you look like a professional or not? Does it make you look like a quality? Do you look like a premium brand? Do you look like a professional brand? Do you you have to get into the vantage point of the person viewing. Image isn't everything, but it's definitely the first 0.05 seconds. So let's just keep it real there. This is human behavior. This is how people work. Okay. This is not me making it up. This is how humans, my job is to study human behavior and understand people and beings. So I'm not making these statistics up. This is based on how we all are as humans. Okay. I always relate it back to relationships. You see somebody walking across the street, everybody's first visual. Okay. Before you know their values, before you know if they're a good person, you don't know if they're a nice person or an asshole, but you definitely have a visual judgment first. That's everybody. You guys are doing it to me right now. People do it to me all day. You've done it to people. People have done it to you. Same thing. Don't take offense to it. It's how humans are, right? The goal is, yes, to show the personality of like how you are genuine, how you're trustable or trustworthy. Wow, I almost made up a word. How you're genuinely authentic. That's the core, right? Because you can always feel when somebody's just like not. It's just not. And we'll leave it at that. Okay. So does it look average? Not polished, not professional, not premium? How do you expect, we talked about this so many times, how do you expect to be charging, we say charging what you're charging premium prices, charging for the expertise that you have, the quality value that you're offering, if what you're putting out there as the front of the house, what if there was literally a house and it looked like it was in okay, I'm using an exaggerated version, okay? But some of y'all, let's just be real, the front of the house and it does not look like a clean, polished house. Let's just be real. Hopefully you hear my heart on that. This is not to be insulting. This is just, let's polish it so that then the value that I know, the expertise that I know that you have, then matches how you're being presented in the world so that then you can get more followers, get more clients, charge premium prices. That's the name of that game. That's all that is. But what if there was a house that had a beautiful interior? And I mean, like, I don't know, I go into my like old school, like gold lame, like, I don't know, golds everywhere. And like old Victorian, I always had this like fantasy of being like in gold Victorian era, right? Where like lavish outfits and like, you know, China sets or tea sets, right? I don't mean to say China set, tea sets, gold, beautiful, obnoxiously over the top, right? Expensive, high level, high profile, premium. Let's just say that was on the inside of the house. Let's just say it was quality, beautiful quality, expensive, premium, value, high value. And the outside looks like, did you guys ever see the movie Up, that cartoon Up? And it was like the old dudes have that scary house. If I'm thinking of the right one, where it was like, they didn't want to go in because it looked like all dark, and I'm exaggerating. Okay. It looked like run down. The paint was chipping off. I'm exaggerating, but sometimes, right? It didn't look polished. It didn't look like, it didn't match the inside. Did not match the inside. It looked like somebody didn't take care of it. Looked like it needed a facelift, right? Meaning like it needed new panels, new wood panels, new paint, the window blinds or something, like the window panels, like it was run down. It was like somebody didn't take care, weather worn. It looked exhausted and overwhelmed and run down. And right, how much would you pay for that house? How much would you pay for that house? You'd be like, that's a fixer-upper right there. That's for sure fixer-upper. I'm going to expect that the pipes are rusty, that I'm just going to have to do a whole overhaul on everything. And then imagine you walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is gorgeous. This is expensive in here. Looks expensive because the value was put into the inside. So I know some of you, you've put a lot of value onto the inner work that you've been doing. You've been putting a lot of value in going and getting, making sure that your product or your service is high value. It's expensive in the time, the energy that you've put, the education that you've put into it. That's what makes it expensive. We have to make the whole presentation, the outside of the house, now absolutely has to match that. Some of you who work with me and you're just starting, you need both. You need the outside of the house and you need the inside of the house. That's okay too, right? But sometimes I've got people that come to me and it's like, oh my God, there's such value here. There's such wisdom and expertise here. We need to make it match. Okay, so that's what we're talking about with that. Leave some comments if that resonates. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why they're not engaging. They don't know what's on the inside of the house. They're judging it from the outside within 0.05 seconds before they even step in the door. They don't know. Okay, so that's one of the reasons. The other, it's not congruent across the platform. Again, that could be congruent. The inside doesn't match the outside. It's not congruent across other platforms. So making sure that your branding is congruent, your messaging is congruent, everything looks and sounds and resonates across all of the platforms. It can also be the congruency on the page. When I go through, one of my favorite things is to go in and clean up social media pages. Just polish it so that it matches. We go from this just average. Okay, I use the drastic example of a very rundown house. By no means am I saying, maybe for some of you, but by no means am I projecting that is. But we got to get the extreme example so that then you can relate it back to, okay, I need the polishing. I need to polish it up. It has to be congruent. People need to look down the page and be like, wow, okay, this looks like somebody took time and cared. If you're not taking time and it doesn't look like you care about it, like if the room looks messy, doesn't look like you care about your house. If your content across platforms looks average, like you didn't take the time to care, why would somebody think that you're going to take the time to care about them? Working with them, making sure that you give so much value to them. Just think about that. It's just the psychology of it. Okay, number 3, it's either not relating. So if this is right, you're posting, you're not getting the engagement. It's either not relatable to your audience. So meaning this is where doing the research, right? It's either, let me read this whole thing. It's either not relatable to your audience or you copied what you think, this was what we were talking about before. You copied what you think they wanted to hear. Maybe it was somebody else you watched, right? Maybe you're just getting information from watching what everybody else is doing. You copy what you think that they want to hear rather than something that feels exciting for you. So getting in touch with first your inner entertainer, your inner like goofball. Okay. The clown archetype. If you've been working with me and you understand archetypes, or even if you haven't been working with me and you understand archetypes, this is the clown. This is the entertainer. So get into that like goofy mode, the person that like is really loving being entertaining, and what feels exciting and entertaining for you to post. Because otherwise, if it's copying it again from other people, it's going to feel dry. It's going to feel like copy paste. And so the energy, this goes back to an energetics, your energy, you didn't own it. If you didn't do it, if you didn't generate it from within you, it's not going to get as much engagement because you didn't generate the energy around it, right? You took the inspiration from somebody else. Nothing bad and wrong with that, except it's going to lower the engagement because you don't own the energy of it, right? It's not invented you. It's not generated you. So this is a big piece. Engagement is energy. So just think about how much energy came from you. Is it something that feels exciting? Did you tap into something that really inspired you? And then from that place, it felt exciting, or even if it's intense, it doesn't always have to be a positive. Sometimes sharing those vulnerable moments, but that's still invented you. That's still generated from you. So if it's not getting engagement, it's either not relatable because you didn't do the research on what your clients, customers, content is. What do they want to hear? What do they, right? Like, do you know them? Do you know what they're interested in and speaking towards that? Have you connected with enough of them? Do some interviews with some of them. Ask them questions. When I first started on social media, those of you who are like OG, right? When Instagram lives were just popping off, and every live that I did, I made sure that it was Q&A because I wanted to know from you. That's why these Q&As are so engaging and helpful. You guys are bringing your question that helps me know where you're at and what information I can help then deliver more of from my expertise to you. So every single week was Q&A style, doing an Instagram live. If you remember, it was always Q&A. I wanted to hear from you. I wanted to know the questions that meant the most to you. So that then when I was making the videos, when I was making content, it related to something that meant the most to you. That's important. That's so important. So get in touch with that. What does that look like? Either do more Q&A lives. These are great. I genuinely value these. Like I said, it helps me understand you more. I can say from my perspective what I think you need to know all day. But it's never going to be as good as if you bring me a question and it's like, oof, all right, I got you. And then I can just like pour into you from the wisdom and the expertise that I have. It's totally different, right? Nothing beats that. That's my favorite thing to do because I get to respond to what's showing up specifically for you. It's not about me. It's not about, again, what I think you need to know. I can list those off all day long, and those are going to come in time, but it's not as important as you telling me what you need. You come first. You come first. Your clients come first. Ask them. Ask them. Let them tell you, rather. Okay. So that may be the other reason you haven't done the research to find out what's the Q&A? What are the questions that they're asking that then you can be delivering content? What are the reason why we're doing content creation? This does not apply to every single person on the list. But when I did my research, there was enough people that were like, how do I package my content? How do I create more content in a way that feels aligned with my brand? How do I polish it in a way that then is professional? Those were the consistent questions that I noticed that were coming up right now. Next month, it could be something totally different because I'm always listening. So be always listening, be always asking what people want to know. Okay. So that could be a reason why, or like I said, it doesn't feel like it's generated from you. So that's two things. It's either generated from what your clients/customers are saying that they need, or it's from your experience of something maybe you just went through and you're like, I need to share this with you, right? In which case do it in like a story form or something like that. that's going to create higher engagement with that sort of entertainer type of energy, right? Okay, let's wrap this up. The last 2 points that I want to make as far as if your content is not getting engagement. Yeah, like basically if you're not engaged with your content, if it's not energetically engaging for you, you didn't put any engagement in it, why would anybody else be engaged with it? Okay, so the final thing that I want to say with this is don't be afraid to shift platforms. Don't be afraid to shift platforms. If it means that you're not going to get as many likes and comments on another platform, test out another platform, because if the engagement is shifting, again, it's an energetic thing. Follow the energy. Right now, some platforms are down on engagement and others are spiking. So don't be afraid to follow that energy and then be creating content on those other platforms that have more energy. I'll give you a perfect example. A couple years ago, before I was doing Instagram Live, I was doing Facebook Live. There was no engagement. It felt like pulling leather to get people to ask questions or chat or comment or anything like that. And I was just like, what is the deal? Like, I don't understand. I could feel it. So trust your body, trust how it feels energetically for you. Again, this is why we got to shut off on what we think is popular, what everybody else is saying to do. You have to remember what is correct for you, your business, how you're going to be putting out content or your brand on these different platforms and the content you're putting out there on these different platforms. Because don't be afraid to move different platforms. So when there wasn't any engagement on Facebook Live, there just wasn't. For some people, it was. That's why I was like, how come it's working for them? It's not working for me. Well, that be different energy, totally different. That's why you cannot compare to what somebody else is getting and what you're not getting. Feel into where it's correct for you. The minute that I then shifted, this is over 4 years ago. Okay. So this is when Instagram was still on the rise. Right now, TikTok's more on the rise, let's just say, meaning a lot of other people are jumping to TikTok right now. It was on the rise. So the minute that I moved over there and started making lives, Instagram lives, boom, skyrocketed on engagement. No problem. 50 people on a live, grew to 100 people on a live, started doing mutual lives with other people. If you remember, you know, right? It was so fun and it just created all this momentum. So go with where the momentum, it's like a current, right? Think about a water current. Go with where the current is going. Feel into where the current is going that feels correct for you. Some people stayed on Facebook. I was like, yo, you got to jump over to Instagram. They jumped over to Instagram. It didn't work for them. They jumped over to YouTube. It worked for them. So it doesn't matter what platform it is. You got to feel where the current is for you, your brand, for you. Sometimes that's going to be more in person and it's not going to be on social media and digital at all. The more that we're opening up in certain areas around the world, getting more in person, that might feel more correct for you. So wherever it is, I just did a speaking engagement, first one locally in a long time, felt so good, so aligned. Okay, so it has to feel good and correct for you. If they're missing the engagement, then there's no engagement. Your energy isn't connecting with it. So follow the current to feel where the engagement is for you, what feels most aligned for you. Okay, so let me double check if we don't have any other questions. We're good. Hey, everybody that's just jumping on, you're going to have to watch the replay, okay, because we're wrapping up. Okay. And my dad is here and we need to go to lunch because he jumped in he's like over there waving like, let's go for lunch. All right. And I'm hungry too. And we've been on this for like a hot minute. Okay. So like I said, I wanted to answer all the questions that were coming in off of the 7-day content creation challenge for your profitable personal brand. If you're on my newsletter, you will get this as a replay, okay? But here's what I just want to remind you. Packaging your content, your expertise into premium, packaging it in a way that feels professional, that feels correct for you, being able to offer it with that confidence and that congruence, making sure that it is polished in a professional way so the outside of your house matches the expertise that I know you have on the inside. That comes up so often, right? So that you can attract ideal clients, attract higher end clients, okay? If you're at that place where you're ready to level up and you want to go into premium priced clientele, maybe you're already at that level and you need to be able to break through. We need to figure out what that strategy is as to why that's not happening so that then you can increase your engagement, increase your, whether it's followers or ideal customers. It's not always followers online. Maybe that's in person. This is all to create the impact that you want, to be able to offer your services, to find those ideal customers that are in absolute need of what only you can give from your expertise. That's what packaging and polishing it is, so that you can be able to do all that. So then you can increase your revenue, so that you can offer more, better products / services, ultimately, so that then you can make that bigger impact in the world, in your community, fulfilling your purpose, your mission in the world. I know if you're listening to this or following me at all, like I already know that is you. That is the energy that just circulates in my communities, is people who really know what the F they're talking about, right? So you know that you are great and good at what you do. And you know that you're meant to do something bigger with it and really be able to offer your expertise, because you know it's going to help some very key specific people, right? Now we got to package all of that and make sure that it's polished in a professional way so that you can do all that, right? Then you get to have the lifestyle that you want. You get to spend more time with your friends and family, right? All of those things, all of those desires, all of those just like heart bursting things that I know are truly at your core. And that's different for everybody, right? You all have your own individual reasons for why you're doing what you're doing. Let's create that strong foundation of packaging and polishing your expertise in a professional way so that then you can be able to do all of that, right? So if you're wanting to be able to establish or elevate your online presence so you can be able to do all those things, package your expertise in a way that's professional, in a way that says, yes, I'm a professional premium freaking brand who does quality work or offer or product, right? So it's products or services. I've worked with so many of both, right? And you really also want to feel so good and confident and congruent that when you offer it, you have that confidence that you're like, yes, this is a premium package. Yes, you're going to get amazing value. You're going to be able to reach the goals through the strategy, through the expertise that you offer. But when you're offering that, you're going to be able to do it consistently, congruently, confidently, so that then you're actually able to have those ideal, badass, amazing, excited clients, right? If that's what you're needing to do now, if you're like stuck and you're like, I don't know how to then break through that and actually be able to polish and package all of my stuff and offer it confidently. Profitable Personal Brand Academy. We're doing that in July. I'm literally, I'm only taking a few people so I can just pour into you. We're doing it live. We're starting in July. It's $997. It's gonna be double the price the next time that I offer it. So I'm only looking for those key people that really just want to like pour into their business, their brand, and take it to that next level. So you can be able to have all of those things that I previously mentioned. This is application only. I want you to be able to apply for this. I want to jump on a call with you so that I can know if this is right for you. So we can find out if this is actually correct for where you're at right now. And if it's not, then I'll recommend what is correct for you. Okay, so this is application only. If you're on my newsletter, you're going to get the link to the application. If you're watching this right now, well, just jump on the newsletter because okay. No, I found it. I'll drop it super quick. And we're good. Okay. So there's the link for the application. This is, again, like I said, application only because I want to make sure that it's correct for you right now. And I want to get to know you. That's all. Super easy. It's not a sales call. This is, let's find out where you're at and if this is correct for you. Okay. So that's available. We're starting in July. It's going to be a blast. I cannot wait. All of you, there's a couple people that have already signed up for it. So we only have a few spots left, right? But I don't do that whole scarcity, like, just whatever. I'm taking a few, if I make room for a few more people, that's okay too. But I really just want to make it such a safe cocoon so that everybody is really I just get to pour into all of you and over pour, that it's not this large group. I only want to take a handful of people. No scarcity, no nothing. The price is the price of what it is. It will be double the next time I offer it. So if you want to jump in on that, or if you just have questions, DM me, message me, or let's get on a call. You're like, hey, I just want to know more about this. I want to know the specifics of what we're doing. I want to know, what is it going to look like? How are we going to do all that? I wasn't doing that in this whole presentation. It was just here's what it is. This is what we're doing. It either feels correct for you. If it feels at all correct for you, then fill out the application and we can find out more specifics and you can ask me and we can go from there. Okay. This is not hard sell. This is not scarcity. I just don't do any of that. I want you, I know that as a professional, you know what is correct for you. You are intelligent, able to make your own choices. You don't need oh, there's only a few more days left. No, you don't need that. You don't need that. I know you don't need that. So it's application. Let's figure it out. Ask me whatever you want. But that completes today. I know I went way over. There were some really, really great questions. So love seeing the likes coming in. Thank you all for commenting. Like I said, that's just so key. That just tells me more specifically of where you absolutely are and what means the most to you. Okay. So the application is there. If you're on my newsletter, then you will get the link. You'll also get the replay of this. But like I said, while I was taking that, it's sometimes just easier for me to get on a video and just answer all the questions that were coming through, the top ones, rather than going through and answering individually. You'll still get an individual message from me if those of you that wrote in the questions. But I just wanted everybody to hear because they were really, really, really good. So thank you for taking the time and asking so that you're contributing to the whole community when you're asking a question. It's not just telling me. I get to share all the questions with everyone. Somebody else didn't even know that maybe it was a question they needed to ask. So you're contributing to everybody. I love all of you so much. Stay positive. Whatever is going on in your business, in the world, just keep going. Keep going. I've been getting a lot, right? If some people, right, you're hitting dips and then you're going to come back up. And if you're at the top, it's going to feel like sometimes it's going down. Just keep going. Owning your own business is a roller coaster. Okay. So that's been a lot of the energy coming through with a lot of different client sessions right now. Whatever is happening for you in the world, in your business, keep producing content, keep connecting with others, keep showing up, delivering value, however that feels correct for you. I will be here to support you in any and all ways that I possibly can. And I love all of you that are on my list in this community that we're creating. Mwah! I will see all of you. And remember, the application is there, and Profitable Personal Brand Academy, 6 weeks. We start in July. If you've got questions, message me. Fill out the application. I love you guys. I'll talk to you